He's a sought-after speaker, and inshallah tonight I call upon him to come and address the community and share from his wisdom, inshallah. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barak wasallam. Alhamdulillah, it's truly a blessing to be part of such a momentous gathering and to understand what it is that we endeavor to build today necessitates recognizing how we move forward by first understanding where it is that we came from. The Quran, it gives us a lot of different reasons as to why it said we were created. Quite often people think it's just about worship, which it is, that you were made to worship. But it speaks about so many other reasons as to why Allah made us. It talks about istimar, the cultivation of civilization, beauty, civility, the arts, umran. It talks about ibtila, the need to have a growth mindset, that the I that is me today is not afraid to meet the one that I can become tomorrow, and any challenge that comes my way, I will meet with resilience and perseverance. But for the purposes of this beautiful gathering, one of the reasons the Quran says we were created is called istikhlaf, to be khalifa. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. And quite often this gets translated as the caretaker or steward of the earth, but really you're Khalifa because you're what comes next. That my 9-year-old son Kareem, my 12-year-old daughter Medina, they are Khalaf to me. And I'm Salaf to them because I am what precedes them. And I want you today to think back within the frame of what you have named your community after. An individual who was so remarkable in his character. If you read the Quran, there are numerous verses that say that when messengers and prophets were sent to people, warners came for the first time with something new, the people they came to rejected them. The Nejashee from day one saw truth as truth and falsehood as falsehood. Unique. And understanding the multiple generations that then claimed that land within the prism of Islam. That the history of Ethiopia is not something to undermine, but in a world that is filled with all kinds of inequities and injustices. Other than a temporary military occupation that takes place under Italy within Ethiopian lands, the country that many of you find your heritage in was never colonized by any people. Meaning that nobody ever told you you couldn't be who you are, and you would only be accepted when you left behind that which you were about. I want you to think in the spirit of istikhlaf about the eldest of the elders that you ever met in your life. Your parents' parents, perhaps great-grandparents. You are what is next in relation to the 4 brothers that we heard their voices on this PowerPoint who had the vision to lay the foundation for this community. And what is it that all of these people struggled for? What is it that they endeavored to do? My grandfathers were both 6'4", tall, strong, Punjabi-speaking Kashmiri men. My grandmothers, they were both 4'10", and you could tell what side of the gene pool I landed on. My father's father, he grew up under colonization. Kashmir is still an occupied land. May Allah grant them ease and relief. He had to ride a bike every day to work. And then when he would come home, he had my father and his 3 siblings study under a street lamp outside of their 2-room house because they had no electricity in their house. And he wanted his kids to become doctors because one of the things that you could do when you were living under whiteness, colonization, and the ugliest of forms, to break out of it was to become a doctor. My grandfather likely couldn't imagine that one day his grandson would be sitting in New York City where there are 400 masjids and 1 million Muslims. The Muslims who went to Abyssinia, facing persecution, seeking sanctuary under the amazing man who you have named your community after, likely couldn't think that 14 centuries later, this many Muslims would be getting together on 106th Street and 1st Avenue in New York City, trying to build a masjid for themselves. But my grandfather didn't go through the struggles he went through so that I could just sit back and think I got to where I was by myself. And the people in your ancestry didn't go through what they went through so that you would sit here and not have struggles also on your own. And you have to be able to think that people sacrifice so much. And the ones who were in a place that they had nowhere to be, the Nejashee gave them the first sanctuary in Islam, a place where they could just worship Allah freely. Inshallah ta'ala, your center will do the same thing. But it's not going to happen if we don't sacrifice in order to build. What if we don't build it for ourselves? Nobody else is going to build it for us. We talk about community and coming together. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not Ethiopian.
Oh no.
I know. But understand that what we share is something that transcends shared externals. It exists at the level of a heart. And to recognize that when the opportunity comes for us as sisters and brothers to honor the rank of sisters and brothers, I want you to have this center for yourself because I love you as my sisters and brothers in Islam. I left my community and my family and came to this space. And I hope that you have as much love for this vision with a recognition, again, nobody's going to build for us what we have to build for ourselves. And you got to dig deep and think, what is it that fundamentally has to take place? Because there's a lot of people out there that they don't want people like us to own our own spaces. They don't want people like us to be in a reality where we have autonomy. They want us to constantly spend and rent and yield to predatory practices, as the Sheikh got up and told you about what it's like to live in the realities of Jim Crow, the stratification of American society rooted in a deeply entrenched anti-blackness that goes from slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration, does not want good people like you to build houses of Allah that then challenge the systemic oppressions and inequities, because the Sunnah is the antidote to all that it is that is terrible in this country. You gotta build it for yourself, and you gotta build it for the rest of us. You got to build it for every single person who lives in your neighborhoods that are waiting for Muslims to actually practice their Islam inwardly and outwardly, so that from these centers we shine light that goes without condition and qualification. And the benefit is going to come back to you more than anybody else, because the hadith is true. You build a house for Allah, of Allah in this world, He will build a house like it for you in Jannah. And so if you have to fast more days in order to give more to this, then fast more days. If you need to have a limited amount of things that you buy over the course of the coming months, that the best thing you give to your child on the day of Eid is a promise to have a space that they can go to where they don't have to explain themselves in order to be. They simply can just be who it is that they are. That you have the mindfulness to be able to enact on a vision that will help generations to come. I work at a center that's built out of New York University. Some of you have been there. We now have 4,000 Muslim students that attend NYU. Many students from other universities come to our campus because they don't have accommodations and services to meet their needs. We get a lot of people who live and work in the New York City area that come to our center. So we serve right now about 15 to 20,000 people at our center. Our center started the way your center started. In 1978, 5 people started our Islamic Center. Handfuls of people getting together to break fast, to just pray when they could with the number of people that they could scrounge together to make a Jamaat. They had no idea that what they built would turn into what it is. And when we started to grow, I brought 2 of them to visit our community for iftar one night in about 2008 or 9. And there was 300 or 400 people in the room breaking fast with us. And I introduced 2 of the people who helped to start our community to everybody, saying, this is Layla Al-Askari and Bari Khan, 2 of the people who started our Islamic Center. And everybody came and thanked them and surrounded them. And then a young girl came in, about 18 years of age, by the name of Sumra. And she asked me, who are all these people that everyone is gathered around? And I said, this is Bari Khan and Layla Al-Askari, 2 of the founding members of our Islamic Center at New York University. And Thumra went up to Bari Khan, who is in his 50s at this point, works for the city of New York, is an everyday guy, and says, I don't know who you are, but you should know every night thousands of people make dua for you. And Bari couldn't stop crying. When we built our new building, I brought them to take a tour. And they came out on the floor where our main musalla is and office spaces, and some of our students were sitting there. And I introduced them, and I said, these are people who founded our center. And they thanked them or were gracious to them. And then I gave the 2 of them a tour, and we went to my office and spoke. And then when we came back, those same students that had thanked them had brought them flowers and chocolates as tokens of appreciation. And Bari accepted it and said, this is very nice that you bought this for us, but I want you to think, what is it that you are going to do while you are here, so that when you come to visit in 30 years, somebody's going to say thank you for what you built for them. Nobody can take away from those 5 people that we gather now in our community from what started with 5 in the thousands. And you have an opportunity to build something that is going to not just cater to people who are in this room, but to cater to people for generations to come. May Allah grant you tawfiq in this. And you gotta really think with the heart of a believer. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ma lakum idha qila lakum unfiru fi sabilillah athaqaltum ila al-ard. That, O people of Iman, what is wrong with you? That when you are told to go forth in the way of Allah, athaqaltum ila al-ard, you're stuck in the dunya. Do you have a preference for the life of this world to the life of the next? Indeed, the life of this world, it pales in comparison to the world that comes after. May Allah make us people of Jannah. You helped to build this thing. It is not an exaggeration. Every single time somebody prays in it, our hadith teaches us you get the ajr for it. Every single time somebody comes and takes their shahada, every single time somebody's in a place where, every single time where somebody comes in a place where they have a need to be met, people are fed through feeding programs, people are taking classes and connecting to Quran, children are growing up without losing religion, but also learning more and more about it. All of it is going to come from the efforts that you offer. And I see it firsthand in my community, people who have lived in a world where difficulty arises again and again and again, the need to find replenishment in Allah's house. The idea of building a house of God is not to draw attention to the house, but to draw attention to God. And when you live in a world that is rooted in a modern day shirk of whiteness, that centers the self in the ugliness of idolatry, that teaches us in a prism of modern day secularity that this world is all that there is. In this verse, when they say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, they're addressing people of Iman. That's supposed to be me and you, those who claim to be Muslim. Asking about the realities of this world in relation to the next. Because the people who don't claim Iman, they at least got an excuse. They don't say they believe in the Akhirah. But you and I, we say we actually do. And if we do, how will you leave from this place without giving everything possibly that you can? Our sheikh got up and gave you $1,000. May Allah accept it from him.
Amen.
And he runs his own masjid. That's how you love for your brother what you love for yourself. You get to a place where these things get intrinsically linked to Iman, which is in the place of the heart. The last thing I'm going to say before I give the mic back to our brother who's moderating, you can't be scared to actually live your faith. There's going to be some of us who we got to seek refuge with Allah a lot tonight, because Shaitan does not want you to build with beauty. He's going to get in your head and tell you that you actually have a lot less than what you have the ability to do. This room is filled to its capacity, and you should be able to reach the goal and shatter it and ensure that in the near future, your community is going to be in a place that builds a home that honors its namesake. You can't give people a sanctuary if you don't have the sanctuary to give them in the first place. And this is exactly what the Nejashee did. I don't know why Muslims treat our history the way that they do, but Islam from day one was in your country. There's no way anybody can take that away from you. And the understanding that people weren't even called from Abyssinia back to Medina until the 7th year after Hijrah, because the Prophet didn't know if Medina was going to work, but he knew that the kingdom of the Nejashee was a place where Islam could still thrive and survive. There's a lot that we can learn from that legacy, and there's so many people who will benefit from the Nejashee Community Center. Let's inshallah ta'ala get done what our intentions that brought us here to this place were rooted in tonight. Give more than you think that you can, and reach out to every single person that you know to encourage them to also contribute. Almost every single one of you has one of these in your pocket. If you feel strange or awkward, reaching out to people that you know to tell them to also have the privilege and benefit of building a masjid, then Shaitan's got you. Seek refuge with Allah and then dig deep and say, hey, with excitement and joy, we're going to build a house of Allah tonight. May Allah grant us tawfiq in this.
Amen.
Don't let yourself leave with anything else. And inshallah ta'ala, we will be gathered together soon as sisters and brothers, having this meal in your community center. Wallahu ta'ala alam wa billahi tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.